Back to pass for the Swedes is Ty Owens, and he fires and it's picked off. Josh Sears going to run it back for the touchdown. Thresher. Hello and welcome to the Thresher Football Show. I'm Dan Page alongside the head football coach at Bethel College, Mr. Josh Lawson, as the Threshers finish their third game of the season. Unfortunately, come up dry, shut out by the Friends Falcons, who are now number 8 in the country. A very, very, very good team and a very seasoned team in the top 10 of the national polls. But I promise, Coach, we'll not spend a lot of time about it. But it's you think about it now 0-3. It's got to be a little bit of a challenge to keep the team focused on what you want to do.
Yeah, I think the guys are doing a good job of understanding what the situation is. We talked to them Saturday night after the game, and then talked to them again Sunday and Monday about staying together. And you got to get through the bad times to get the good times, and anything worth having is worth working for. And they're doing a good job of trying to understand that, when you have as many young guys playing as we do, there's a lot of frustration in those guys, especially a lot of those guys that are high school guys that have been part of winning programs and stuff. And so I think that the big thing we got to do as coaches and the big thing we got to do as a team is we got to stay together and know that when you follow the process, when you're detail-oriented, things will work, but you have to follow the process. You can't just wake up on Saturday and think you're going to win football games. You got to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and be very detail-oriented to get that outcome you want on Saturday.
Yeah, and there are no shortcuts to doing that. It's all about doing the things right and building upon that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you guys are still establishing that, and it is a difficult time for anybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can feel like as a player that you have a lot of talent, and think it's not getting used, but you have to put that in the back of your mind and remember you're on a team mm-hmm. together. And I'm sure you have some guys that are dealing with that as well, and that's probably something that you guys have, on the coaching staff, had to counsel a little bit.
Oh yeah, you spend a lot of time with these guys, and you see the frustration in their eyes a lot of times, and so you just pull them aside, pull them in your office, and talk to them. And I've had a couple of conversations this week with guys about what have you done on a daily basis to get better? What, are you sleeping enough? Not just like out here on the football field, but what are you doing every day of your life? Are you waking up early enough? Are you going to bed early enough? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating right? Are you hydrating right? All those little things that it takes to be a champion. And so I've had to pull some guys in and talk to them a little bit. And not that we have any guys that are ready to fold the 10 or anything, but I just want to make sure I get out in front of it before it becomes an issue.
Yeah, definitely becomes challenging, and it's good to review all that. I mean, because believe it or not, these guys are working at like professional athletes, and then have school on top of that as well. So it is a whole growing experience, and you have to have a growth mindset going forward, no doubt. And it's tough to be now 0-3 on the season, and the last game, yes, it wasn't exactly pretty, but there's some things that you definitely learn from in those situations, and you could probably seen it. You probably could have saw it coming, mm-hmm. and you just don't know until you get into the shoes of those guys and understand with the speed and the strength that plays into the game.
Yeah. I would say, looking back on the Friends game, really, like you said, the speed of the game and the speed of the triple option there is something that you can't simulate until you see it live. To be honest with you, I thought defensively the first couple of drives we gave ourselves a chance. We got to win on third down. When we got them in third and fourth down, we got to win right there. But we gave ourselves a chance there. And then offensively, we had a couple of drives. We had about 3 or 4 drives where we're driving the ball, turned it over a few times, muffed the field goal. We had a couple opportunities to maybe score some points, but what we got to do is when we get in that situation, we got to calm our mind. We can't let our mind start racing, and I think that's what happens to us a lot of times, especially with the young team, is they've got to learn to calm their minds instead of letting their minds start looking forward. And I think that happens a lot. We get in third and fourth down on defense, and they start thinking about getting this stop and getting off the field instead of, I got to do my job right now. Mm-hmm. And same thing on offense. I think, especially with the young guys, their minds get to racing and start thinking about we're about to score instead of I got to do my job on this play. And so there's some things that that they just have to experience before they learn that, hey, you can't ever get out in front of yourself.
Yeah, there's so much to learn from. I was just thinking kind of in your quarterback, Byron Reese's shoes. I mean, he's so used to, having his normal drop and being comfortable in it, but they made him sure uncomfortable. And, it's as a quarterback in that situation, you got to find ways to, string that out, like, break out, try to get something going and, break the defense down a bit. But, again, that was kind of a learning thing to, just one of the examples with that. But, you were talking about the first couple drives, you guys, you had 2 forced fumbles in the game. Yes, you didn't get them, but there were some good things. That was just overall in the game. But you could tell from the get-go the guys had a lot of energy. They had a lot of attitude going out there. And I thought Justice Hills on the D-line, interior D-line, that was so important for him to step up in that. And I noticed that we moved Frank to more interior D-line against the flex bone, which I thought was a really good move as well. But yeah, it's just there's so many different things, and they had a lot of big fellas up front. Yeah. It made a lot of challenges.
Yeah, I think one of the things when you think about it, with our team right now and our, we're rebuilding this thing, and so we only have 83 guys on the roster right now, and we're only able to play with about 53 of those guys. And then you look across the field every week, and the team you're playing has 70 or 80 guys out there, ready to play. And that's a big thing for us right now is there's nothing we can do about it. We got to play a little more. We got to play more snaps than everybody else because we just don't have the depth that we would like to have. And so, and it shows at times. We get wore out a little bit, and then we come out, we go into the locker room, and we come back and at halftime, and we come back out and we play pretty good. We just we just have to learn to play tired. That's just the bottom line. Until we get some more depth, and until we get a few more recruiting classes in here, we're gonna have to learn to play when we're tired.
Yeah, and it's definitely a challenge. That I don't know myself as a player if I ever complained about not playing enough or playing too much, I guess, in that scenario. But yeah, it definitely causes some wear and tear and things like that. Just some numbers here to kind of wrap up the Friends game. Still passed for 109 yards. Byron's now thrown for almost 500 yards and 38 completions and 2 touchdown passes on the year. Still trying to establish some things with the running game. Noah, he probably, the yardage probably doesn't look great, but he's been good in as far as the passing game goes, dumping off to him, things like that. I thought Tristan stepped up really well in the backfield as far as Xavier. They had some strong runs, using the best of their time, and that you can't ask for better guys. And then a couple catches from Xavier, Jackson Daniels as well, and then Josiah, definitely a big game for him as well. 3 catches for over 40 yards in the game. So it's you have guys that had the little pieces. You got to put them all together and make it work. Because I was looking at some of the other teams in the conference and even in our division, things like that. They've got quarterbacks that have thrown for a minimum of 6 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And yes, their scenario is completely different. Mm-hmm. But it's at some point you got to feel like that's going to come.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's just being process oriented and knowing that you got to do the little things right to get the outcome that you want. And I think that's what we preach every day, and I think our kids understand it. When you get to college, everybody's a good football player, and I think that's the difference that a lot of these young guys are learning is there's never a week when you're going to play a bad football team in college. You might play better teams than the one you played the week before or whatever it may be, but you're never going to play a bad team, and so there's never a week where you can go in thinking we're going to be better than this team or whatever it may be. You have to play every week, every snap, and you have to be process oriented, and you have to know that the outcome is only going to come when you do the little things right.
Yeah, you got to earn, you got to fight for it, all those things. Just looking at some defense, Justice had 6 tackles to lead you guys in tackling. Gavin Patton had 5, Lyric Wheeler 5, Josh Santos and Frank Driscoll each with 4 tackles in the game. There was a few live balls that we wish we could have got on top of, but just getting out of that game healthy, I think, is the biggest task, and it seems like you guys did that.
Yeah, for the most part, we're pretty healthy. We got some guys that are maybe, but you're always going to have that every week. So I think, and we're getting some guys back that have been injured for the last week or two. So that'll be good to see some of those guys get back and build us a little bit of depth there. Yeah,
I noticed Jess there. He kind of caught a little bit of a stinger or something, but definitely got to be one of those guys that he's playing his last year of football, and he wants to do it on his terms. I would imagine.
Oh, 100%.
So let's look at some of the last week's scores. Evangel and Southwestern, the big game that we thought it was going to be. Evangel ended up being on top, 35-25, and that was a big win for them. That's they're in our division. It's going to be very tough seeing them later down the year. And traveling down there, another thing with that. But interesting enough, Evangel, they win that game, but they're still ranked lower than Southwestern in the top 25. I couldn't believe that. But I know there's some of the political things that go into that, and I'm not going to push the envelope with that necessarily. But that was a big game. Yeah, it was a huge game in our conference.
I talked to Terry after the game, and I told him, I said, from what I've seen, I try to watch every game every Sunday, and from what I've seen, the 3 teams that we played in Evangel are really, really freaking good teams, and so, I mean, it could come down to any of those teams, and if any of them wake up one morning and they're not on their best, and they're playing each other, it can get ugly real quick.
Yeah, last year, Friends, they lost to Evangel, but they, beat everybody else, and because of that, they still got to go 2 rounds into the playoffs, things like that. So they definitely know how difficult it is, and there's a lot of good teams in this conference. You guys got one this week in Kansas Wesleyan, who's undefeated to start the season, but Bethel's going to play Kansas Wesleyan again. It's at 6:00 at Thresher Stadium this Saturday, and come out and support the players first and foremost. It doesn't matter if what the record is, things like that. If you care about the people that are playing, come out and support them. And Bethel's a tight-knit community, so even if you don't feel like you're even remotely involved, come out and support the team this week. If you can't, what you can watch on the KCAC network. I'll have the play-by-play for that again this week at 6:00. But Kansas Wesleyan, they're coming off a 30-6 win against Avila. They look really good, and we'll talk about them more in a bit. Bethany and St. Mary was a good game. Looked like 49-41. Bethany won by 8. Somebody had to get that win in that scenario, a high-scoring shootout type game. And, the Swedes, that was big for them because they've had some really rocky years in the last 3-4 seasons, and Coach Grosser's been trying to establish a program there, and that seems like a little bit of a breakthrough for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And looking at some other scores, Ottawa beat Sterling 51-20, and McPherson, with what Tabor did against Southwestern, I thought they were going to give McPherson a game, but McPherson won 49-7. Against Tabor. Yes, it was at McPherson, things like that, but the Bulldogs, who knows what Bethel did to reveal some of the things that maybe were their flaws, but it seems like they turned things around pretty quick.
Yeah, McPherson's a really good team. I said it the week we played them. I think they're a big, strong, fast team, and they got a good quarterback. They got some good receivers on offense. Their offensive line is long and strong, and their defensive line is really tough. So they're going to give people problems all year.
Yeah, they certainly. Yeah, and of course they're in the other division. Of course, that with Southwestern, Kansas Wesleyan, and Friends. So it is a gauntlet over there in the Bissell division this year. So kind of highlighting those games, and then of course this week Bethel is taking on Kansas Wesleyan. Coach, you mentioned a little bit in the past that you've known their coach for quite some time, but being first-year coaches in the conference, I'm sure there's a lot of things you've learned here pretty quick.
Yeah. I've known Matt Middleton for probably 15 years or more, and he's a good football coach. He's an offensive guy, and he does a good job of putting his guys in a position to win and have an opportunity. And I think he's a good football coach. And, me and him have a very similar background as far as our coaching careers. He spent a little more time in high school than I did, but we both bounced around, spent a lot of time at the D2 level. We've both coached in the GAC for a long time at a couple of different schools. I think he was at Arkansas Monticello, Harding, and maybe even Southern Arkansas at some point. And I was at Southern Arkansas and Arkansas Tech in that league. And so we've spent a lot of time competing against each other. But he's done a heck of a job, and I knew he would. And it's going to be a fun opportunity this weekend for our team and his team, because there is so much knowledge of each other, and so it's going to be interesting to see it.
Yeah, certainly. The thing that kind of had everybody kind of on their toes a little bit coming into this season was he going to bring some of the flex bone from Harding over to Kansas Wesleyan? And knowing the Kansas Wesleyan crowd and how they might receive it, I'm sure that would have been interesting. But it seems like they've shown a mixture of a lot of different things.
Yeah. They're not exactly what I've seen him do in the past, but it's kind of a combination of some things. He has a coach over there that I've worked with before. His name's Boomer Cunningham, and it looks like Boomer's added some things to the run game that he's done in the past, and so. What they're doing is what works for them, and I think when you take over a program, that's what you have to do. You have to find a way to try to give your guys an opportunity. You can't necessarily just do what you want to do because you don't have the personnel yet to do exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, and one of the things I've noticed, after studying them for this week, they brought back some good pieces, even though, their past coach moved on and things like that. I mean, they still have some dangerous weapons, and the best thing for them is they spread the wealth. There's not one guy that stands out above the other. I mean, their quarterback, he's a very talented kid, 64 completions, almost 700 yards passing this year, but only 4 touchdown passes because they balance things out so well. They do. It's really a selfless team, so it seems. Yeah,
I mean, they do a good job of finding the places where they think they can throw the ball and do a good job of getting the ball there in the holes, and so that's going to be different people at different times. And also their run game, I know their number one back coming into the season, he's out for the year, or he's out for right now, and I don't know if he's out for the year, but I know he's out for right now, and I wish him the best getting back healthy because he's a heck of a football player. But their offense, they spread it around pretty good to all their receivers, and their running backs they're kind of backed by committee. I think it's number 4 for them right now. Is probably getting more touches than anybody else. But they do a good job, and their quarterback scrambles around when you get pressure on him, and he does a good job of getting 7-8 yards here and there to get them out of some jams.
Yeah, certainly. They have a lot of different options. They can be a physical team. They can power run against you, but they also, that's one of the things Kansas Wesleyan over the last, 10, 15 years has been known for. They'll spread you out. They want to test their 5th best receiver, 4th best receiver against, all your DBs and just see what they can do. And unfortunately, they've been able to pick teams apart while doing that. And, very, very capable of doing various things. And, that's what you do to prepare to win, bottom line. But, talking about their defense now, they're always been a good defensive team as well. They've always had great linebackers. That's kind of the anchor for Kansas Wesleyan in recent years. I don't know how much, as far as with the coaching change, as far as personnel and things like that went, but it definitely seems like they still have some guys. The interesting thing that I thought was they've only forced two turnovers all season, and I know you don't want to hear that after last week's game where we turned the ball over 6 times, but that was a surprising fact to me. But as far as their defense goes, what is really their style and their strengths?
So they're a 4-2-5, if you want to call it 4-3 maybe. They're kind of a hybrid of those two things. But their D-line, it has a lot of depth, and they got one D-lineman, number 2. He's a special player. He's really good, really explosive. And then their Mike linebacker, he makes them go a lot of times. He comes and makes plays when everything breaks down. He's there to make it happen. So, I would say they do a good job of being gap sound in the run. and they make you throw it to the right places in the past. Like you said, they haven't created a lot of turnovers, but what they have done is make people punt a lot. And so they do a good job of just not letting you get the big play on them.
Yeah, I mean, again, you don't get to an undefeated start to in college football if you don't have those good players and good things. And a very good coach that I know once said, it's really hard to win college football games.
Yep.
Fact of the matter. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, but they are very good defensively. Special teams as well. They got 2 good place kickers. I mean, they've got depth everywhere, it seems.
Yeah. I think they probably have about 130, 140 on their team. So, they have a lot of depth, and and they use it. They use it where they can. Especially, like I said, their defensive line. I would say their defensive line probably goes 3 deep. So they probably got about 12 guys that can play at any point on the defensive line. So that's something that we have to be prepared for. Is they're going to have fresh bodies in there all the time.
Yeah, it definitely presents a challenge. I mean, they have so many people in their program that their development team is like a whole separate deal and everything. I remember preparing for this matchup a couple years ago, and I was cross-referencing some things with their announcer, and it's like, okay, who's this guy? And he's like, I've never heard of him before because they put them all in the same roster, things like that. But I was like, man, got to have 150 guys, so it seems. But their school is doing pretty well. They've in recent years across the board athletically, Kansas Wesleyan is very, very competitive, and they still won their division last year despite the way they started and their coach resigning, things like that, and having an interim coach, which didn't surprise me one bit because we knew that once you get to their division, it was going to be successful for them because we knew they're a good program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But just kind of looking at the conference this week, we mentioned Bethel and Kansas Wesleyan at 6 o'clock. There's only 2 games at 6 o'clock this week, McPherson at Evangel and us. So that's going on. Everybody else kind of shifting up to the 1 o'clock games, which could be really hot. I mean, you think about doing that, months before the season starts, and then you realize, okay, Kansas decided to still be summer at this point. But Sterling is at Bethany this week. That should be a pretty good game, I think. Sterling's still looking for their first game. Their offense has, scored 2 or 3 touchdowns in a lot of games this year. So that one will be a very good game, I feel like. Southwestern's at Ottawa. No doubt the Mound Builders want to bounce back with a win against Coach Davis's team. Friends is at Tabor. Tabor always plays well at home. Just kind of looking at things, this is just a fact of the matter. They've always struggled against the flex bone. That's not a criticism by any means. It just, looking over the history of my time here, that's been the case. St. Mary is at Avila, so we'll see if the Spires and the Eagles can go at it. And one of them will get the win. I mean, they're just like us. They're fighting tooth and nail for just one win in the win column. So all those are 1 o'clock kicks, and then Bethel and Kansas Wesleyan at home at 6 o'clock, and McPherson at Evangel at 6 o'clock. And it's going to be a good week, another good week of KCAC football. You can watch all of it on the KCAC network. It's awesome that we have that for free for parents and everybody to watch every game. I mean, you can be the 6 o'clock game and watch the 11 a.m. game. If you want to have that on your mind and things like that. So it's definitely cool to see that. But this week Bethel is at home against Kansas Wesleyan. Then next week they'll be at St. Mary up in Leavenworth, and it looks like the game changed a little bit. Did it change from 6 to 1 o'clock kick?
I don't know if it changed. We haven't had a commissioner for the last few months. We finally got one hired this week, and so communication hasn't been probably what it should be. And so we had it as a 6 o'clock kick. I don't know if it was scheduled as 6 o'clock to begin with or not. That's what I was told, but not necessarily from them. So it's not like they changed the time of the game, but it will be a 1 o'clock kickoff. Okay.
Yeah. It always, you never know what you're going to get here at the KCAC, but that'll be the next week. And then following that, it'll be time for Fall Fest, Bethel versus Sterling on October 4th. So it's all happening really quick. I mean, you're pretty much a quarter of the season down already. And I know some coaches, they like to break the season down, quarter by quarter, half by half, things like that. But, as far as I'm sure you guys have goals for every part of the season. And, yes, you want to win games, but you also want to grow and meet towards those goals. Mm-hmm. Has that kind of been the case for you guys? Or?
Yeah, I mean, like I struggle with any goal outside of getting better at what you do. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's got to be our goal all the time. Doesn't matter if you're 3-0, 0-3, playing for a national championship or playing for your first win. For me, the goal is always be better today than you were yesterday in everything you do. That's kind of how I've always been. I try not to look past today a whole lot. I feel like if you wake up every morning and you're trying to do the best to be the best person you can be and be the best at what you're doing, then that's what you can do. And so, like, I don't put a whole lot of number goals on our guys. I don't, because what good does it do to go out there and, hey, we had 600 yards offense, but you still lost, or you still turned the ball over 8 times, or whatever it may be. To me, it's all about be better today than you were yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty simple. I mean, you're carrying forward after this time. That's going to be so important because, the professional world is very stressful and just taking it one day at a time. Sometimes it's just looking forward to the cup of coffee, kind of a thing, and just, to keep you going, things like that. So, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And, I know every coach has their own way of doing things. So, so again, that's the schedule from this last week and just, getting to know things going forward. But I did want to finish the show a little bit differently. I always, Coach, you're still fairly new here, and I'm sure there's some people that may have always wanted to come up and talk to you and just, introduce themselves and things like that. So, I guess just kind of wrapping up the show with some lighter questions, things like that. But, what's something you enjoy outside of football? Is there something?
There's really 2 things that I really enjoy outside of football. One of them is crappie fishing, which has been a struggle for me since I moved to Kansas. We don't have near as many lakes as I'm used to being around. So I sold my boat and all that because I really don't have time or a place to go, but I love to crappie fish. And then really the thing that I like to do most is just me and my wife go out to dinner. We spend it's just me and her, and so we're kind of each other's best friends, and she's the one that keeps me sane. I may or may not have talked about this, but all the kids call her Mama Lawson. We have a group of kids. I tell you, this is really fun for us and really good, I think, for our football team. Every Sunday, we have a group of about 12 guys that come over to our house, and we cook for them. We cook a home-cooked meal for them, and I think that's her favorite thing that we do is she gets to hang out with the kids a little bit and gets to just love on them a little bit. And that's one thing every Sunday I tell them is no matter what happened on Saturday, I'm still going to love you on Sunday. And I think that's really big for her to get to spend that quality time with our players.
I know a lot of players, maybe they want a break from the calf or something like that too. But I really envy that, just because, just having wholeheartedly, when you jump in and you make the move that you guys did to here, 100% all in. And I can't help but just see how much support she's been, and not just for you, but for other fellow coaches and players and things like that. And it just really just adds to the experience and makes it something that everybody's everybody's putting in the work, but it's just everybody's all on the same team, and we're making an effort together.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said you haven't got to crappie fish yet, so I was going to ask what's the best place in Newton to do so, but you haven't found that yet.
Yeah, I haven't found that place yet. I got to find me a big lake with some structure and get me a boat out and see if I can find some. That would be I don't know where to go yet. Anybody out there who has a spot, I'd be willing to go with you.
All right, that's awesome. Yeah, I love to fish. I took my daughter last summer, and we just went to a park where my parents live in Derby, and she caught 5 fish. I mean, teaching her how to fish, things like that. It was really cool. I think she had maybe a perch and mostly bass and catfish, things like that. So always fun. Okay, so best place you've eaten in Newton so far? I'd imagine you've spent some time in Wichita too.
Well, yeah, but I've eaten at pretty much every restaurant in Newton. Boy, that's a good question. You know, there's actually really good options here. There's the Italian place. I think it's Giovanna's or
Genova.
Yep. So Genova's, I really like their food. It's really good. So we have a lot of Mexican options, but they're all really good. So I mean, because we have so many Mexican options, it's hard for me to just say one of them. So I'm going to go with Genova's.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I just so I love breakfast burritos, and I was asking somebody, okay, where in Newton should I get a breakfast burrito? They told me it was Del Puente Cafe down there, and I went and tried at least 2 different kinds, and it did not disappoint.
Yeah.
It did not disappoint. I mean, those things are Chipotle size breakfast burritos, which is exactly what I was looking for. But yeah, no doubt, it's a great place. Some of the friendliest people you've met since you've moved here, if you could, name a few. Maybe you don't even remember their name.
Everybody's been really friendly to me. Everybody's been really good to me. That's a great question. Friendliest people. The McCords have been just awesome. Kylie and Darby have been awesome. They've been very helpful. Darby he helps with our football team as well, and Kylie does the dance team, but they've been excellent. I've been over to their house a few times, and they've been over to my house a few times. And Terry Cook and his wife. I mean, obviously everybody on my staff I get along with really well. Outside of the staff, there's a lot of people. I don't know how to just say just one person or one group of people. I mean, I'm fortunate here that everybody's easy to get along with. Everybody's friendly. Everybody's helpful. I think I'm going to say this, probably a little bit of a story.
Okay.
So we had a athletic staff bowling tournament right before the fall season started, and Coach Lepaki, I think he had been hired for like less than 24 hours, our women's soccer coach. He had only been here for maybe a day or two, and so we go bowling. I'm an awful bowler, absolutely awful bowler, and the first game we played, I think I had the lowest score of everybody, and Coach Lepaki's up there and he's throwing the ball backwards, and I've never seen anything like it. And so I asked him, I said, hey man, what are you doing right there? And he showed me what he was doing a little bit. So I started bowling like he did, and that gum was probably the best game of bowling I've ever had. So, it's not pretty to watch me bowl, but now I at least have an idea of how I can knock down a few pins.
Yeah, I mean that's a great one. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Just like, how do you do that? You see some of the best at it. Put the English on it and everything. And I've just always been a straight on kind of guy. Line it up and do it like you're pitching or something. Yeah. But that is great. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of great people, and I'm looking forward to Fall Fest. It's October 4th this year. It starts on the 2nd, and then it goes to the whole weekend to the 5th, things like that. And you have the Taste of Newton on a Thursday night, which is don't miss. Experience tons of food booths, things like that. But I've always loved Fall Fest Saturday, not just because of football. It's a big conglomeration of everybody coming together, no matter what your background is, and that's always what this is about. And this time in our country, more than ever, we need to just come together and think about some of the things that are important more than anything. So, but now I definitely appreciate that. I mean, maybe there's some people that'll come up to you and now say, "Hey, let's do it. Let's go fishing," things like that. Yeah. But certainly, yeah. I mean, I just wanted to make sure people knew that you just weren't like a football robot or anything like that. I kind of am August through about November, but once we get through the season and we get most of our recruiting class done, it's really hard. I was sitting in a meeting this morning and somebody asked me a question and I couldn't even put a sentence together. When you're working 12, 13, 14 hours a day, some days, you just kind of just get in football mode and you don't know anything other than football at that point. And so, I told my team yesterday, I said, guys, I've done nothing since I got home from the game Saturday night but watch film. That's all I've done. And so
just like right now, just forming sentences sometimes is hard to do when you get in about Tuesday or Wednesday of the week, and you're trying to just get through the week, and sometimes it's hard to be anything other than football during football season.
Yeah, certainly is. Well, Coach, I definitely appreciate it because we both are hitting each other at the end of the day when we film this and things like that. So I feel you. I'm right there with you in that. So, but definitely appreciate you a lot, very much. But that's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you, everybody, for watching every week, things like that. I mean, we don't do this for ourselves. We do this for you. We do this for parents and alumni, family, all these things, for the players as well. I mean, after games, I'm sending players video clips of, Tristan running the football, Kevin making a big tackle, things like that. And I just want them to have a great experience and something that they can go 10 years down the road and look back on and say, that was special to me. Mm-hmm. So that's why we do it from the get-go and things like that. So everybody, I appreciate you very much. For Coach Lawson this week, I'm Dan Page, again telling you to roll on.